Tech basketball will try to get back to the Elite Eight for the second year in a row tonight, taking on the Michigan Wolverines in the Sweet 16.
Rob Verby's with the team in Anaheim and how they've prepared for this matchup.
This Fox 34 News Red Raider Road Report is brought to you by Autos Granary.
It's a Sweet 16 matchup here at the Honda Center in Anaheim, home of the NHL's Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Red Raiders and Michigan Wolverines square off tonight, about 6:40 local time, 8:40 back in the LBK. This game a tale of two premier defenses. Red Raiders giving up just over 59 points per game, which ranks third in the nation. Michigan slightly better, allowing just over 58 points per game. That ranks second in the nation.
The Big 12 and the Big 10 are different styles of play. Kind of Kansas State remind me of Kansas State. Kansas State was real good defensively, played in the gaps, just guarded the ball real well, and good rotations, and that's kind of how they play defensively, I feel like. But they're bigger than most teams we played. Probably up there with Duke is one of the best teams, probably the best team we played all year.
Yeah, they got a great defense, but I don't know if they're like anybody we played. We played a lot of great teams, and they're another great team, so they're for sure unique in their own way.
They have a lot of good pieces, from the guard spot to the inside spots, and we know they have a big presence inside, 7-footer, so we have to contain him. And we know they have good guard like the point guard, and they have shooters. They have all around good teams.
And Michigan reaching this point with a convincing win over the Florida Gators, allowing only 49 points in that game. The Red Raiders, in the meantime, trouncing Buffalo, a 20-point win in Tulsa. It's the Red Raiders and Michigan Wolverines here at the Honda Center in Anaheim. The spread in this game, oh, so close. The wise guys in Vegas have Michigan winning this game by 1.5 points. Covering the Red Raiders here at the NCAA tournament in Anaheim, I'm Rob Verby.
A family in Abernathy says their 16-year-old son received a suspicious package in the mail. Turns out it's part of a popular scam.
After a legitimate notice from the USPS indicating they had mail waiting for them at the post office, our Cassie Carlson explains what was inside and what the sender wanted in return.
When Sheree Redden stopped at the post office to pick up the package, it said she owed $22 in postage.
And we had asked my son, what could it be? And he had no idea what it could be.
Redden opened the package to find directions to deposit a $3,600 check that was in the envelope.
You are to text the number below before you can contact anyone else. That was real fishy.
Redden decided to text the number to see what kind of response she would get.
And I have not received anything back, so I don't know what their next step is.
U.S. Postal Inspector Amanda McMurray calls this the fake check scam, even though it started with fake postage.
They buy postage once and then see if they can game the system by basically photocopying the labels.
McMurray says scammers buy marketing lists to get addresses and are hoping they fall for the letter to cash the checks.
Once they cash it, the bad guys will contact the victim and then try to get them to cash it and wire transfer money back to them.
Redden says she looked up the company listed on the check. It had 11 lawsuits against it. And if Redden's son were to cash it, any money he then owed would be his responsibility.
Even if it is the product of a scam, they're still responsible for paying the bank back for any funds that they withdrew in the meantime until they did find out it was a scam.
How would he have repaid that money back? So, it's just concerning.
Redden says her son does have a checking account and thinks his information could have gotten out because he plays Xbox Live. The postal inspector's biggest advice, don't cash any check from an unknown source. With senior photojournalist Andrew Wood, Cassie Carlson, Good Day Lubbock.
And another scam to warn you about, this one from Lubbock Meals on Wheels. The organization says it will never call you to ask for your information or to try to enroll you. But if you do get a call like this, hang up, call the police, report it to Meals on Wheels. If you have a question about a request for funds for that program, call that in. A Fox 34 follow-up now on a defamation lawsuit against the Catholic Diocese. Former Deacon Jesus Guerrero's attorney says the church is just plain wrong on how it's handling it. Guerrero filed suit against the diocese on Monday. The church named him when it released a list of clergy that it claims are credibly accused of molesting children. Guerrero claims that's defamatory because he was never charged or credibly accused. His attorney says there have been several requests to retract his name from the list and get an apology, but those have fallen on deaf ears. Now Guerrero is demanding that plus $1 million for slander and libel.
In my opinion, calling somebody a child molester or a pedophile is worse than being called a murderer in my mind, because that kind of stigma, as far as being labeled a child molester or a pedophile, stains your reputation and stays with you forever.
Olguin says he expects the church will try to get the case thrown out. He says the diocese will probably call the notices a matter of public safety, which would prevent any lawsuits against it. Now, we've asked the diocese about Guerrero's case. A spokesman says the church won't comment on any pending litigation.
Plainview State Rep Ken King wants the state to take care of its volunteer firefighters. He filed a bill that would allow emergency grants for rural departments that have responded to a disaster. He says this will help them get support to repair or replace their equipment. This would force Texas A&M Forest Service to prioritize volunteer departments after disasters. King says this will protect smaller departments, writing, "Whether it is the wildfire in the Panhandle or a hurricane that hits the coast, our volunteers need to ensure they have safe and reliable equipment following these disasters to continue to assist our communities."
The Texas Rangers have taken the lead on the shooting death of a man in Central Texas. Burnett Police, which is northwest of Austin, report the driver refused to stop and ran over an officer's foot. That officer then shot and killed the driver. A passenger was not hurt. The officer now on administrative leave. The Rangers will move on to body cam footage to determine whether that shooting was warranted.
A man convicted on state murder charges in a deadly car attack at a white nationalist rally in Charlottesville now pleads guilty to federal hate crime charges. James Alex Fields Jr. of Maumee, Ohio, pleaded guilty to 29 federal charges stemming from the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville back in August of 2017. The 21-year-old convicted in December of first-degree murder and other state charges for killing anti-racism activist Heather Heyer and injuring dozens of others. A jury found Fields intentionally plowed his car into a crowd of people protesting against the white supremacists and neo-Nazis. Yesterday, he admitted he violated federal hate crime laws when he targeted the group. The man accused of kidnapping 13-year-old Jamie Kloss and murdering her parents nearly 6 months ago says he is guilty. 21-year-old Jake Patterson pled to 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide and 1 count of kidnapping. He was arrested back in January and while in custody confessed that he didn't know Jamie. But the moment he saw her getting off of a school bus, he wanted to take her. He made 2 attempts to do that. The third time managed to break into the home, kill the parents with a shotgun, and bound the girl by hands and ankles, taking off with her. He held her captive 88 days inside his cabin about an hour away from her home. And on January 10th, the girl somehow managed to escape, flagged down a woman out walking her dog to call police. Patterson's sentencing is scheduled for May 24th.
Customs and Border Protection will assign 750 inspectors to care for Central American families surging across the border. The temporary assignments will cause longer wait times at border crossings. The Border Patrol Commissioner says that will hurt international trade, but he calls it necessary to address an operational crisis.
A high number for us is 4,000. A crisis level is 6,000. 13,000 is unprecedented. The only way to fundamentally address these flows is for Congress to act and to reinstate integrity into our immigration system.
Border arrests shot up in February. March was just as busy. The commissioner says there have been more than 100,000 arrests and denials of entry this month. More than 55,000 will have arrived as families, including 40,000 children. Dyess Air Force Base will be the new home to the B-21 Raider programs. Air Force Secretary Heather Wilson announced the base near Abilene will house both the Operational Test Squadron and the Weapons Training School for the next generation bomber. Congressman Jody Arrington has championed this move since it is in his district. In a statement, he says it doesn't just secure the future of the air base in the next century, but it will bring hundreds of new jobs and families to the key city. Dyess is the only base in the country to house these programs and will continue to serve as the sole training base for all B-1B Lancer pilots.
Our mental image of a Marine may not be all that accurate. At least that is what one Texas Tech graduate in the Corps is telling us. According to the Bureau of Labor, 75% of Marine jobs are non-combat. That's almost 123,000 careers. First Lieutenant Andrew Wood says this doesn't fit the public narrative.
Traditionally, the misconception is that all Marines are on the ground running around with rifles and conducting combat operations. And the truth is that there's a large supporting establishment of other jobs and occupational specialties that enable the Marine Corps' success and ultimately the defense of this nation.
Later this hour, we'll get a look at the career opportunities for Marines when they return to civilian life. And while we were in San Diego covering these Marine stories, our crew had the chance to visit Marine Corps Air Station Miramar. There we spoke to one pilot who says it's common for his staff to have two occupations, one on land and one in the air.
Our primary job or military occupational specialty is a 53 pilot, but then we have what we sort of like to think about as a ground job, and that can be anything from administration officer. Right now I'm the pilot training officer, so I'm charged with essentially setting up the training plans to train all of my pilots, from brand new co-pilots to aircraft commanders.
No matter the job, every Marine begins their career the same way. Tonight on the News at 9, we take you to the historic Yellow Footprints, where the recruits take their very first steps.